When you think of pyramids, you probably think of one place, right? Egypt. Endless desert, the three giants of Giza, the postcard, the screensaver. We've all seen this shot a million times. The Great Pyramids of Giza are the undisputed kings of the ancient world. Or are they? What if I told you the biggest pyramid in the world isn't in Egypt? It's this, a lush green hill in the heart of Mexico. So huge it was mistaken for a mountain, with a colonial church sitting right on top like a cherry on a sundae. And what if I told you some of the oldest pyramids on Earth also aren't in Egypt? In fact, entire cities are being built around pyramids in the Americas. At the same time, Egypt was still inventing the idea. They're hidden in desolate river valleys in Peru. The story we were taught in school is only the first chapter. The history of the pyramids is bigger, older, and way more global than we've been led to believe. Today on WTF, we're going around the world to meet the real titans of stone and to ask a question nobody bothered to ask us in class. If Egypt didn't invent big sacred pyramids all by itself, why did we grow up thinking it did? Before we talk about what you weren't told, let's talk about what you were. We were taught the Great Pyramid of Giza was built for the pharaoh Khufu around 2600 BC and is a monster precision. 2.3 million stone blocks. Some granite pieces hauled from Aswan weighing up to 80 tons. For almost 4,000 years, nothing humans built was taller. That's insane. The whole Giza Plateau, the three big pyramids, the Sphinx, the causeways, the mortuary temples, is a perfectly aligned machine for one job, to turn a dead king into a god. Giza's the benchmark, the gold standard, the celebrity. It's so dominant in our imagination that we quietly absorb this idea. When Khufu's pyramid went up around 2500 BC, all of Egypt may have had only about 1.5 million people total. Tens of thousands in towns, the rest were farmers along the Nile. Giza wasn't a megacity, it was a royal machine plugged into a surprisingly small country. Yet the pyramids were the heartbeat of the region. This is what pyramids are. This is where pyramids come from. This is the pyramid story. Or is it? But here's the real question. Was Egypt the only place humanity felt the urge to build artificial mountains to the sky? Or did someone edit the rest of that story out for us? Our first stop rewinds the very first chapter in pyramid history, and it's nowhere near the Nile. Jump with me from the sands of Egypt to the dry Supe Valley of Peru, about 200 miles north of Lima. Here lies the sacred city of Caral, quietly sitting in the dust until the 1990s, when archaeologists finally realized what they were looking at. Radiocarbon dating says Caral civilization thrived between 3000 and 1800 BC. Caral itself was modest, maybe 3,000 people, but the whole Supe Valley network that shared its culture could have held 20,000 or more. For its time, that little Peruvian valley was one of the busiest neighborhoods on the planet. To translate, while Egypt was busy figuring out its first pyramid, the Step Pyramid of Djoser, Caral was already up and pulsing with monumental architecture. These are some of the oldest pyramids on Earth, but they don't look like Giza. No sharp limestone tips, no perfect triangles stabbing the sky. The pyramids of Caral are huge, terraced, platform mounds of earth and stone. Imagine giant layered cakes of dirt and rock, with broad staircases climbing up from deep sunken circular plazas. The biggest one, Pyramid Mayor, the Great Pyramid, covers an area about the size of 4 football fields and rises about 60 feet high. It's not tall like Giza, but it's sprawling. It's civic, and what they didn't find there might be the weirdest part. No city walls, no weapons, no mass graves, no thick layers of destruction. Instead, they found flutes and horns made from condor and pelican bones, evidence of long-distance trade, shells from the coast, goods from the highlands, traces of big public ceremonies in those sunken plazas. In Egypt, the pyramid is a tomb, an engine for one man's eternity. In Caral, the pyramids look more like community servers, the heart of a living city, a place where everyone gathers for ritual, music, trade, and stories. It was the first known urban civilization in the Americas, and it announced itself with pyramids. So now the timeline looks less like Egypt invented pyramids and everybody else copied, and more like multiple cultures separated by oceans, all decided at the same time to build sacred step mountains. Coincidence? Shared human psychology? Or if you want to go full WTF, did they get the same architectural memo from somewhere else? Our next stop doesn't answer that question, but it does introduce a new problem. If there's a pyramid bigger than Giza, why didn't anybody mention it? Welcome to Cholula, in the Mexican state of Puebla. At first glance, it's a charming city with a huge grassy hill in the middle. On top of the hill sits a beautiful yellow church, the Iglesia de Nuestra Señora de los Remedios. Cute, scenic, and completely insane, because that hill is not a hill. It's a pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Cholula, man-made mountain. And by volume, it's the biggest pyramid on the planet. Now, height-wise, it doesn't look like a threat. About 60 meters, 216 feet, less than half the height of Giza. Look at the base. Cholula's footprint covers nearly 40 acres, almost 4 times Giza's base. By sheer volume, it crushes Khufu's pyramid, 4.5 million cubic meters of material compared to Giza's 2.6. So how did the largest pyramid ever built end up looking like a grassy bump with a church on top? Because it wasn't built in one dramatic pharaoh-like sprint. It was built like a Russian nesting doll. During its classic heyday, Cholula's sacred city around the pyramid probably housed 15 to 20,000 people. And some scholars think that at its later peak, it may have swollen to about 100,000, rivaling Teotihuacan as a major religious capital. Construction starts around 300 BC. For the next 1,000 years, different cultures show up, and instead of tearing the old pyramid down, they build a new, bigger one right on top of it. Layer after layer after layer. Oh, and instead of clean limestone blocks, they use millions of adobe bricks, sun-baked mud mixed with straw. Over centuries, that mud became perfect soil. Grass grew, trees grew. The biggest pyramid in the world turned into just another hill. At its peak, Cholula was a great temple complex dedicated to the feathered serpent god Quetzalcoatl. By the time the Aztecs were in charge, the city was a major pilgrimage site, a holy city. And then, 1519, Hernan Cortez and the Spanish arrived. They massacred thousands at Cholula, and in the classic move of empire, they plant a church on the most sacred spot in town, right on top of the Great Pyramid. Now, did they know it was a pyramid under there, or did they just build on the highest hill in sight? Official story, they thought it was a natural hill. Unofficially, even if they didn't know every layer underneath, they absolutely knew what it meant to crown the most holy local place with their own god. Symbolic domination 101. The man-made mountain became just landscape. It wasn't until the 1930s that archaeologists digging and tunneling found the truth. Now there are more than 5 miles of tunnels spiderwebbing through the structure. You can literally walk inside the hill and see earlier pyramids hidden in its core. The biggest pyramid in the world turned into a hill with a church on top, and most of the planet has no idea it's even there. Kind of makes you wonder what else we've paved over. So let's put our 3 heavyweights on the same stage. Giza, the icon, tallest, sharpest, most famous. A precision project for one man's afterlife. Caral, the ancestor, an alternate origin story for pyramid building. Full music-loving trading society, building giant platforms to organize life, ritual, and community. Cholula, the behemoth. By volume, the largest monument humans have ever stacked up. Not the work of a single king, but a living temple updated over 1,000 years. Giza's a sprint. Cholula is a marathon. Giza pierces the sky. Cholula consumes the earth. And Caral quietly whispers from the deep past, we were here doing this at the same time as Egypt without ever meeting them. Or did they? And then you zoom out and it gets even crazier. Did you know the country with the most pyramids in the world isn't Egypt? It's Sudan. Down in Kush at the city of Meroe, around 9,000 people lived among palaces, workshops, and steep little pyramids, an African royal city of iron, gold, and desert stone. The neighboring kingdom of Kush built more than 200 pyramids, smaller and steeper, but everywhere, hundreds of years after Egypt had basically retired from the pyramid game. Or look at Teotihuacan. The pyramids of the sun and moon sit on an enormous urban grid, massive base dimensions, aligned with celestial events, a city that, at its peak, was one of the biggest in the world. And we still don't know exactly who built it, who ruled it, or what language they carved their secrets in. The more you look, the more the pattern appears. The pyramid isn't an Egyptian idea, it's a human idea. A reoccurring shape, sacred mountains built by hand on a multitude of continents across thousands of years, all reaching for the same sky. Now here's the uncomfortable question. If all of this is true, why do most of us grow up thinking pyramids equal Egypt? The end. Part of it's tourism. Egypt sells. Giza looks good on a poster. Part of it's us European archaeology in the 1800s being obsessed with pharaohs and mummies and not so obsessed with giving equal screen time to Peru or Sudan. And part of it's just how we like our stories. Simple, clean, one main character. But the real story of the pyramids is messy, global, and way more interesting. From the dry plains of Peru to the highlands of Mexico to the deserts of Egypt and Sudan, the pyramid keeps showing up. Sometimes it's a tomb, sometimes it's a temple, sometimes it's a gathering place, sometimes it's all three. But the message is the same. We were here. We mattered. We wanted to touch eternity. The pyramids you know, the textbook pyramids, are just the trailer. The ones you've never heard of are the ones that reveal the true scale of our ancestors' ambition. So here's my question to you. Is this just parallel human creativity, or does the same unseen blueprint keep popping up in different places? Were ancient civilizations tuning into the same cosmic architect, or did we just massively underestimate what people everywhere were capable of? Drop your theory in the comments. Hit like if you've never heard of Caral or Cholula before this. And if you want more hidden ancient weirdness, tell me where we should explore next. Teotihuacan, Göbekli Tepe, the Bosnian pyramid mess? I'm Alex, and this is WTF. Thank you for watching.